Hello everyone, JohnnyBoy0056 here. I'm starting this series on Escape from Tarkov to better myself as a player, and maybe benefit some viewers in the process. I am new to PC gaming, but not new to first-person shooters. I have played first-person shooters on console with a control for the last 15 years. However, Tarkov is my first shooter using a keyboard and mouse. That being said, I have a lot to learn about the controls and the game. I began my Tarkov journey in June of 2020, the day of the wipe. Today, instead of showing you a glorious play in which I succeed as a player and loot 5 PMCs, I'm going to showcase one of my many deaths. This in-depth breakdown will detail everything I did wrong that led to my death. Let's get into it. Okay, so just for reference, this is late raid. There's about 10 minutes left. I'm currently in this position carrying an ADAR 215 and an AKMS. The ADAR has a magnified scope, which has, I believe it's a 2x setting, 1 time or 2 times, and the AK on my back has a red dot. I'm also carrying a pistol. I have a helmet, several healables. The biggest problem currently that I'm seeing based on this inventory screen, and again, this inventory screen was based on the last time I checked in this round. I currently, at this position, do not know how many rounds I have in my ADAR. I don't know how many rounds I have in my AK. Don't know how many rounds I have in my pistol. So this is the first problem based on this inventory screen that I can indicate. I also do not currently have any body armor on, making me very susceptible to any bullets at this point in the game. Okay, so at this point, we're coming up on the 10-minute mark. I am just being very cautious. I've already had a few scav kills. I'm okay on my loot, but really I want to extract. This is a PMC run. I felt like I was doing okay. I hit this doorway. I'm cautious of scavs. I hear the audible. I pick it up. I think this is a player. Still not sure what that kill was at this point. I'm taking a look. I'm assessing, trying to see downrange. Want to make sure nobody's creeping up on me. Unsure of what that gunfight was, figuring they must have seen something. Even if it was a scav, that means they saw something. So I'm waiting to listen for some feet on the ground, some boots on the ground. Still assessing. I want to be real quiet. That way I can tell which way they come from. I'm sitting here at this point. This is a poor decision on my part. Should not be sitting in this doorway. That means I'm exposed to any player on either side of this wall. And here they come. Okay, so the audio in the game let me know that there was a player approaching. I turned, I looked, I identified that I do have a target moving towards me at this point. At this point, I'm 99% sure this is a PMC. This is not a normal area for scavs to patrol. Plus, he's also not dressed like a scav at all. Okay, I'm tracking for him. Now I pick up this enemy right here. This was a fatal error. This was a second player. But at the time I was playing this match, I thought it was the same player that I had lost and picked back up in my scope. So in my mind, at this point, I'm fighting one PMC. I'm preparing to fight one PMC one-on-one. Okay, so I'm facing several problems at this point. Some I'm aware of and some I'm not. I do not know that this is a second player, which it does turn out to be. But on top of that, I have an issue. I'm using a scope that is too magnified for this distance and this gunfight. You combine that with the fact that I have a single fire rate on this gun, meaning I have to click for each bullet to come out of this gun. So I'm likely underpowered in that regard. And he's closing the gap on me, which means he's getting closer to me. He's running in my direction. Where I should have an advantage here, I actually do not, because the scope is too zoomed. And I'm losing visual because the scope is so zoomed in, it's hard to keep track of where he's going and his movements. If I had thought about it, I could have utilized my backup weapon. I had an AK sitting in my backpack. I also had a handgun. The AK also had a red dot sight, which has 1x magnification. I would have had a much better sight picture and probably could have got some shots on target if I had switched guns and prepared for that type of distance fight. I also could have demagnified the scope I had down to a 1x, but didn't do that either. Okay, so the first shot misses. And now if he didn't see me, now he knows that I'm there for sure. Okay, so in my mind, the enemy that I had in my sight is the one that shot me. In reality, there was two of them. I don't know which one actually shot me at this point. But either way, they did shoot me. I am injured as I retreat back behind the wall. Now I'm caught also in a situation where I don't know what's going on with these scavs and or players that were on this side of the wall that I'm now facing, and I have to worry about the enemies pushing behind me. So I've put myself in a really bad situation. I also have to make a decision now if I'm going to heal, if I'm going to engage any possible scavs or PMCs coming from this side of the wall, or if I'm going to turn and fight the PMC, well, what I think is one PMC that's going to push from behind and come through the opening I just ran from. Okay, so now I'm in a really bad situation here. Let's go over a couple things. The first thing I should have done is probably change guns at this point. I'm already on the move. I believe that going to the other gun with the better sight and potential for an automatic fire would have bettered my chances with this situation. So that should have been number one. Number two, where I ran to, there's no cover. We can see here on this frozen frame, there's nowhere to go. There's no cover. There's not even that tall of grass here to conceal myself. So I'm running towards openness. There's nowhere for me to go. As soon as they peek the wall, they're going to be able to see me right away and get a sight picture and start shooting me. So with that being said, to my left, there's a concrete berm by these white towers that I pass right across the street where that pipe is on the left side. I should have moved over there, either to utilize the pipe as cover or to use the berm as cover and have gotten, although I wouldn't have had a height advantage, it potentially could have protected me from some of the rounds that the enemy was going to lay down. I'm already running into an unknown. I know that there's enemies by the opening I just ran from, so although the unknown is not safe, it's safer than pushing back towards the opening I just came from. I also, at this point, do not know my ammo count, so that's another unknown. Am I out of bullets? Do I have 2 bullets left? Do I have 22 bullets left? Don't know, because I didn't check my magazines. A grenade. If I had brought grenades into this game, that was another potential weapon I could have used to either hold them off to create more distance or possibly get a kill. So I could have lobbed grenades back at the entryway where they pushed me from. I could have also run. I mean, we're at the end of the map here. The time, we're 7 minutes 55 seconds left at this point. I could have made a run for the exit, which was not too far from here, from where this frozen screen is here. It's just to my left behind the white towers, and I could have ended my run. I could have maybe healed on the way. If not, just make a run for the exit. My legs were still good at this point, and got out of there. So those are some options I had, none of which I took or considered. Part of the reason being that when you get into a gunfight like this in this game, for me as a player with a keyboard and a mouse trying to find my way, I was panicking. They messed up everything I had planned. Where I wanted to just get a one-shot kill and one-tap them in the head, it did not work out. So now I'm in a situation where I'm wounded, I'm panicking, I got a lot of unknowns, and I make poor decisions. At this point, I decide that I'm going to turn and fight. I face the wall and start looking around a little bit. I'm trying to track the sound to see which way they're running. There's multiple openings on this wall, so I want to make sure that they're not trying to double back on me and come from behind me. And that's why you see me face the wall and try to figure out exactly which way they're moving for better tracking purposes at this point in the game. I also take point and take aim, and it's too low. Where I'm aiming is definitely too low for the entryway and for when they push through it. But ultimately, my decision is that I'm going to turn and fight the enemy as he comes through the door. For me at this point, the audio was not indicating that there were 2 players there. I was also continuously moving myself, which I should have been more still and assessed the audio better to determine that there were 2. At this point in this fight, I still did not know that there were 2 enemies that I was getting ready to fight. Alright, so there's an exchange of gunfire here. Clearly by this frame, you can see my aim was low. Low. Headshot was not going to happen. I also had poor sight picture. The magnification wasn't terrible at this point at this distance. I did create enough distance to where the scope was functional, but my aim, I was never going to hit anything. Unless he crawled through this opening, I wasn't going to hit the shots I needed to. And with this type of gun, getting the leg kills and putting enough damage on the legs fast enough wasn't going to happen either. He knew what he was doing. He peeked and retreated and took cover at this point. And all my shots... well, not all my shots missed, but they were all definitely low and not where I intended to shoot. Okay, so after several exchanges of gunfire, I line up the shot that I'm looking for, take the shot, and put down the PMC. Alright, so after all of that, and that intense gunfight that I was happy to win, I am now faced with a surprise. There's a second PMC who is now pushed through the opening that I was completely unaware of and completely unprepared to fight. I'm already heavily wounded, have no time to heal. The second player has now pushed up on me, and I don't know how many shots I have left in my magazine. I didn't know my health condition at this point, and there wasn't much I could do to win this fight. So many of the problems that I mentioned earlier have now exponentially multiplied and have created a really bad situation for me. I'm wounded, I have no cover, I don't even have any concealment to get him from being able to get accurate shots on me. He's pushing through with probably fresh mags, probably full health, and I'm already wounded. Yes, his buddy's dead, but he's about to finish the job that his buddy started, and there's not much I can do about it. Switching guns would have been an okay option here, based on the amount of time that I had to react. He probably would have killed me on the swap. But if I had switched before I had to engage either of them, I would have been in a better fight and a better position to return fire, push him back behind the wall, or at least prevent him from easily killing me. So the fully automatic firepower ultimately brings me to my demise, killing me and eliminating me, and I lost all my loot. And in reality, I was a good 30-second run from the extract, which was probably the better choice at the end of the day. So the final kill was on my right leg. I did kill that USEC, which was the player we put down just before we were killed. So just to recap everything we did wrong in this run. Using the wrong scope. It was too close of an engagement for such a powerful scope, even though it was only a 2x scope. Changing guns would have been the smart move as soon as I identified that the players were moving on me. The fire rate of my gun needed to be considered, knowing that it was a single fire gun. I probably should have changed guns. The players were closing the gap on me, making my sight worse and worse as they closed the distance. I was sitting in a doorway with an unknown on my left and enemies approaching me from my right, creating a bad situation. I should have pushed through the door earlier or pushed on the enemies earlier with the proper gun. When I backed up through the wall and ran out, there was nothing to protect me. Wide open road, open grass, no cover, no concealment. I miscounted the enemies. So in my mind, I'm fighting one enemy when in reality there was two of them that I was not prepared for because I didn't know how many were there. If I had packed grenades, grenades would have been a great way to hold them off or get a kill or create distance. I could have just run for it. Run through the white towers, run through the street, run, do something. Got to pick your fight sometimes with this game. I could have used the berm, run down into the berm, and then return fire, using that to protect myself and the rest of my body. I was not wearing armor. I didn't put armor on. I didn't buy any armor. And I said, oh, I'm going to save the money and not put any armor this run. And in reality, it probably helped them kill me, as pretty much any shot that they landed did a lot of flesh damage. The AK with the red dot would have been the way to go here. The pistol, when I engaged the second player, I could have easily switched to the pistol or the AK, transitioning weapons, which would have been the faster way back into the gunfight if my first gun was out of ammo. In reality, he just caught me off guard, and that's why I didn't even take a shot at him. I was already wounded, and I just moved around a little bit to try to dodge bullets until he killed me. And now, just for reference, I'm going to play the entire gunfight in real time back so you guys can see everything in real time as I did it wrong and every mistake that we just discussed. So I plan on making a series out of these videos. I'm hoping these breakdowns of the death will help me and other viewers improve as players and better assess the situations they find themselves in during Tarkov raids. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also play Escape from Tarkov live 4 nights a week, Tuesday through Friday, 8 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time on Twitch at twitch.tv/JohnnyBoy0056. Thank you for watching. See you soon.